Tangent. Today we're going to take on a very large topic. Wait a minute, that sounds familiar.
Broad topic?
I say that a lot. We do take on some very large topics.
Large topics.
It is broad.
Grand and heavy.
Even when we realize that they're large, we don't realize how large they are until we're like halfway.
Right.
Is there like a scale? Do we have a key? Like a legend to put up?
So quick introductions to everybody that's here. It's the typical four of us, like always. We got Devin and Tim and Harrison and myself.
Yes, sir.
We are going to discuss the topic of anime. Yes, I sound very enthusiastic.
Yeah, he's such a noob. He doesn't know nothing. He's going to sit there quietly.
Very little about anime, but these three are huge anime fanatics.
Maybe.
We'll start with the fact that, I have seen a few. Right. Some of the older movies. Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro.
You've seen Studio
Ghibli.
He's seen a lot of Studio Ghibli stuff.
Studio Ghibli is the best way to put it.
Which isn't bad. We're not making fun of you for that. That's quality shit.
If you're not into anime yet, Studio Ghibli is a great place to start.
And that's what everybody said to me. And it's like, if you want to get into it, here's a good place to start. Watch a few of these movies. If you get into them, there's all this broad area to even get into. And I think me and Tim were discussing earlier this morning at breakfast about just the amount of anime that's out there.
Yeah, anime.
You could easily find something.
Anime is not a genre. Anime is just a classification with a bunch of genres in it.
Right. He said so. You could easily find something. Yeah. You could easily find something
that
interests you.
Not even necessarily just Japanese animation, because there are other random things that count as anime, like Big O, which is German.
Yeah.
But it's done in the anime style enough that it's counted as anime.
Right.
And then there's a lot of Korean animation that counted as anime.
I keep hearing about the Koreans starting to get into it.
It's definitely not a specifically Japanese thing.
Yeah.
So we don't just sit here and discuss broad topics of anime.
What is anime?
We are going to go around and kind of talk to each individual person besides myself and see where they started, like one of their first things that got them into anime. So we'll start with Tim. What's one of the first things that you watched that kind of got you interested in this? Actually, what do we want to call it? This topic of anime?
So I'm gonna go ahead and start pretty easy. When I was in middle school, a lot of people will remember Toonami, right? Oh, yeah. So on Cartoon Network they had Toonami. And they started running things like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and Rurouni Kenshin. And I got into that stuff. But at the time, anime wasn't really a word that people threw around.
Right.
They were just considered cartoons. And you stuck them on cartoon channels in cartoon blocks.
Right.
So when I think about anime, especially those three, I don't think of as anime because I watch them alongside other cartoons as just cartoons in a cartoon block.
I remember Sailor Moon just being an after-school cartoon that was on. It was just on
it was on
regular
Toonami.
channels.
Toonami ran right after school. It was the big after-school cartoon block. And, those things and a bunch of other stuff like Reboot and stuff like that were all on. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a Saturday morning cartoon, but I can still consider it that
I remember always watching it after school during the week.
For me,
they were never new
WB
episodes.
Right. Mine was, Pokemon, I always considered Yu-Gi-Oh!
Pokemon, but it was a bunch of stuff on WB, but Cartoon Network had Toonami, and I started getting into that stuff. But as a result of Cartoon Network finding that stuff was popular, they started running Adult Swim, and I was probably in 7th or 8th grade. And one of my friends at school started talking about some of the shows they were running on Adult Swim, and started talking about anime. And I was like, what the hell is anime?
Yeah.
And he started describing to me what anime actually was. And I was just like Dragon Ball Z and stuff? And he's like, kinda. But he got me into, Outlaw Star and Trigun, and especially his favorite anime, which ended up being my favorite anime, which was Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was waiting for you to talk about
I have seen all of Cowboy Bebop, but
seriously,
that's just because Tim is my brother.
Seriously, this is my entire explanation is a run-up to Cowboy Bebop, and Cowboy Bebop is the thing that got me interested in anime, because up until then I'd seen, you know, all these other animes, and they're all done in a very anime-ish kind of style. Even Trigun, which can be serious, is very goofy and cartoony.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cowboy Bebop has its humorous side and some of its humorous episodes, like Toys in the Attic. But overall, it's a very serious, dark show that you could literally see in being a live-action show, which they made. It's called Firefly. Like, you could have made Cowboy Bebop into a live-action show and stuck it on a major cable network, or, you know, you stuck it on HBO or CBS or something like that, and had it be a really good and successful show. And it was anime. And that's what got me looking into anime and getting interested in it, because it was just this huge, giant, sprawling thing that could cover any topic.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to hear you talk about how, like, anime, it wasn't, like, relevant to just talk about it as anime, because, like, I remember, honestly, I can't remember when I became aware of when it was just, oh, this is anime.
Yeah.
You know, I just was watching it, and, you know, any kind of new content that was brought to me was just, oh, what is this? Oh, it's just this show. It wasn't like this is a whole group of style of animation or whatever the hell you want to describe it as. For me, I got into Dragon Ball Z because of Toonami, and because, you know, I have a brother that's actually about your age, Tim. And, like, he would go to Blockbuster and get new episodes of that and bring that home, and I'd be watching that. And
I remember watching new episodes of Dragon Ball Z on tape at random people's houses.
I remember Christmas Eve when I was, like, 7, 8 years old, I think, we watched Goku go Super Saiyan for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, and like
months before it ended up airing on Toonami.
Right, months before. Yeah, right. And then, but I remember, honestly, if it wasn't for, like, Studio Ghibli and those movies and stuff, I wouldn't have really branched out at all. I would probably still be sitting here and be like, yeah, let's do an anime episode, and I'm only going to talk about Dragon Ball Z, because that's all I know. But I remember at one point I kind of became aware of, like, it was like a style, a thing, an anime.
What was your first Studio Ghibli film?
Howl's Moving Castle.
Howl's Moving Castle?
Yeah, I was like,
probably mine
I was like 9 or 10. I was over at somebody's house, and they were like, oh, this is Howl's Moving Castle. Do you want to watch it? And I was just like, you know, what's it about?
Yeah.
And they didn't even describe it. They were just like, no, you're just going to watch it. You know, plugged it in.
It's hard to describe what
Howl's Moving Castle
is. Honestly, it's hard to describe a lot of the Studio Ghibli films. Like, give me a plot summary of My Neighbor Totoro. Go.
Oh man, see, right? How do you?
But my first Studio Ghibli film was Princess Mononoke, which is probably one of their more straightforward films.
Definitely.
But I followed it up with Kiki's Delivery Service, and as a result, I didn't even know they were part of the same company.
Yeah,
those two films are so different.
I actually, to get me into watching Howl's Moving Castle, the friend was like, "Hey, have you ever seen Kiki's Delivery Service?" And I was like, no,
which is a great movie,
but I know what it is.
Yeah,
you know. And she's like, well, it's anime just like that. And I'm okay. What the hell is anime? What does that mean?
Right.
And she's just like, just watch. You'll get it once you watch the movie. So we watched Howl's Moving Castle, and then we watched Kiki's Delivery Service, and then My Neighbor Totoro, and like, oh, okay, this is awesome, you know. And that was kind of where I started to branch out, and then, I mean, I kind of just went all over the place, and I went very slowly with things. Like, honestly, I'm still kind of got very basic taste in anime and stuff. Like, I'm like a shonen guy, basically, which you guys might look at me and be like, oh, what a basic bitch, but like,
you're basic weeaboo.
Yeah, exactly. And I see, like, I don't even label myself as any of that, you know. I just like anime. I'm not like an otaku or a whatever the hell it is.
You don't get to pick your labels. Other people pick them for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not gonna even look to earn any of those titles or nothing. I'm just I like what I like, you know.
Yeah. So the thing is, I can understand that, because I used to be a big shonen guy as well. But it wasn't until I started branching out and finding out there are other animes in random genres that, like, especially like when they started getting to like the slice of life anime is really big now.
Yeah.
And idol anime is becoming big, and
I had a phase of that.
Right.
I was very into Love Live, like very.
But like I got into like Love Hina, which I'm not even sure what to classify Love Hina as.
Yeah.
It's just a weird show. And I read the entire manga as a result of seeing that show, and those two things are almost word for word for each other. So you can do one and not have to do the other, but I mean you can do both. But you know, and there's so many random genres. Like I've been trying to get you to you and Tabitha to watch Dagashikashi, which is it's an entire anime about candy. That it's about people that are obsessed with candy and one guy who's less than impressed, and like that's the entire show, right?
The way you describe things,
yeah, it's so
always
funny how we
great.
describe stuff.
And one
That's
guy
so great.
who's not impressed.
Dude, I started watching Devil is a Part-Timer.
Yeah.
And that show's pretty funny. It's about the devil from like a different world gets sent to Earth, and he has no powers anymore, so he gets a part-time job.
Interesting.
So I was describing that anime to you this morning, James. It's just a random boxing anime.
Yeah.
It uses real boxing terms, real boxing techniques, and it was made by an actual boxer, and it's just an anime about boxing. And it's sort of hyper realistic with some of like the slow motion drama that you would notice in like anime fight scenes.
It's super.
But it's all boxing.
One of my favorite anime, which don't judge me, but it was Keijo, where it was the anime where these girls stand on these platforms in the middle of a pool and they fight each other with their butts.
All right.
That's
pretty
a thing.
funny.
That's
And they did like some references to like a bunch of like shonen anime too, and like I think like one of the girls went like Super Saiyan at one point. And, like it
Nice.
just like they all had like super butt attacks. It was pretty funny.
That's
Interesting.
great. That is
All right.
amazing.
So really, though, I think the question we had for Harrison was, what was one of the first ones you remember watching that really made you go, "Wow, I want to watch more of this"?
Well, that's a hard question. I know that I got into anime because of a girl in middle school.
Go figure.
Yeah, that's probably what got me into it. And I mean, of course, I was always into Dragon Ball.
Did you remember
but I
the
didn't know
specific?
that was anime.
Was there like a specific one that this chick was like, you know, riding you about to
Hey, go
watch?
check this out.
And
Maybe Sword Art Online.
okay, because I was about to say, man, you're
Okay.
younger than all of us, so it couldn't have been that long ago. You better
Right. So
remember
Sword
that.
Art,
Yeah.
in my head, I always think of Sword Art as being rather new, but I guess it's been around for a little
I
while,
think it was like 2010.
right? So
Something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
It's
and
at
the
least
thing,
10
and the thing
years.
is,
That long?
to me, 2010 is pretty recent
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know.
There's like 80s and
Right.
90s stuff.
So like when I'm thinking about like you know the original Dragon Ball or even
Right.
hell like Cowboy Bebop was 98.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Right.
And there's a lot of cool stuff that came out around 98, like Rurouni Kenshin. And Trigun, I believe, was 97 or 99, something like that.
Trigun was around the same time. So I did say at the very beginning that I'm not really into anime, but the more I sit and talk about it, like
The more you
Tim-
realize you know more about it than
Right.
you think.
Tim has named a bunch of animes that I actually watched, but I never really lumped them into that.
Right.
Because again,
That's
we were
how
just
it-
discussing.
It kind
that
of
we
that's
don't-
how
yeah.
you don't think about it when you're just starting
I've
and what anime
watched
is.
a good chunk of Trigun. I've watched all of Cowboy Bebop, but that's just because Tim has it and said you need to watch this, so I did.
Yeah.
I
used
did
to
watch.
own 2 copies of Cowboy Bebop.
I did watch Dragon Ball Z, but not all of it.
He didn't watch any of it. Don't let him lie to you. He got sick of Goku running up Snake Way in like 2 episodes. And
Hold on.
He was
Dragon
like,
Ball
I can't
knowledge.
believe
All
how
of your
long
Dragon
this
Ball
is taking.
knowledge
And I
is
was like,
Dragon Ball
hold on a
Evolution.
second, bro, because there's like 15 more episodes of this shit at least before he
Well,
gets to...
when I say I watched some of Dragon Ball Z, and it's mainly when the first episodes I remember watching, he was in training in a hypergravity thing, getting ready to go fight Frieza
Okay.
for the first time. So that's when I started watching. But I watched
that's
whole.
more like beginning of Namek Saga.
Right.
Mhm.
I
the
watched
best
the
saga
whole.
of the show in a lot of people's minds.
I think it's the second longest saga of the show.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's
I watched the
ridiculous.
whole saga unfold with him and Frieza and him going Super Saiyan and
Right.
doing all that. And I was like, I did watch that as it came out, but I was probably also a few months behind from when everybody else saw.
What was happening?
Because I was watching it on whatever channel we found, some Cartoon Network or something like that, and they were playing it late at night, so it was like midnight on Saturday nights
it
or
had
something.
to have been Toonami.
So we would, it was midnight on Saturday night, and we'd turn it on and we'd watch whatever the new episode was.
If it wasn't for the fact that I had already seen and read all of the Dragon Ball manga and anime, and also had seen like the Frieza saga, like I was introduced to it during the Frieza saga also, but then my brother made me watch Dragon Ball, and then I read Dragon Ball manga at the library. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I could have gotten through Snake Way, because that crap takes forever.
Honestly, there's a lot of filler in the original Dragon Ball Z.
A lot.
Which is one of the reasons why I actually tell people to watch Kai, because Kai gets a bad rap because it censored all this stuff, and
It's not.
Kai didn't censor all that stuff. The WB censored all that stuff.
Exactly. You can
The
still
WB
watch
cut
Kai.
out all the blood and all the cursing and cut out some episodes and stuff. There is an actual run of Kai in English that is completely uncensored, and it's been run on U.S. television. It's a little harder to come across. It's a little harder to find, but if you watch it, it's fine. Snake Way is like 3 episodes in that.
Thank God.
Yeah, Kai's probably what got me into Dragon Ball initially, but like when I first watched it just on that cartoon block, it really got me into it. Before I even like knew what anime was at all, had any idea, I was super into Dragon Ball for years of my life. Like I've always been like really into Dragon Ball.
But the original Dragon Ball, with Kid Goku and all that stuff, that is still my favorite of
Agreed.
all of the shows. Currently, I think it's probably followed by Super, because I think Super was pretty tightly done, except for the last.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't watch the first like 40 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair, because if you've seen the movies, you know what happens.
Right. But the last saga is the only one in Super that really drug on. And I have a feeling the reason why it drug on was because they were trying to figure out whether or not it was going to continue when they were done.
Yeah, exactly. That was ridiculous. There was like 70 episodes at that point when they started.
Right.
the
They basically
Tournament of
doubled the
Power.
entire length of the show with one storyline.
arc.
I do think that the way that they ended it was pretty satisfying, though.
It is,
Yeah.
and the fact that they are going to continue it, but they wanted to do another movie first, is going to be interesting. But moving on to some other animes.
Yeah, some not Dragon
Let's
Ball
say,
Z stuff.
There was some stuff that I think we mentioned. Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I
Yu-Gi-Oh,
never
yeah.
thought of Yu-Gi-Oh! As an
Right.
anime.
And the thing is, I still don't think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon as anime, but they are.
Yeah, and like I watched a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Man, Yu-Gi-Oh! was
Or
one of my
even,
favorite things to watch on Saturday mornings.
Even like Beyblade and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Digimon, Beyblade.
Digimon.
Yeah.
And
Never watched any of those.
man, there was a lot of quirky ass shows like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of there were a lot of anime that were run basically like morning kids cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just it. Is like there's a bunch that like people are calling anime, but I never really thought of them.
Well, and like
Like
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Shaolin Showdown and
No, I wouldn't say that's anime.
like
But that's
well,
good stuff.
and the
Definitely.
freaking Jackie Chan, the
The
Jackie
Jackie
Chan
Chan
Adventures is not an anime,
We
but
should
it's
have-
really well done in that style.
We should have
if you
an
really
entire
look at
episode
it.
about Saturday morning cartoons.
Well, the thing is, like
We
Avatar
Did we?
is not
Yeah,
an
that's
anime,
right. I
but
was like,
it's
wait
done
a
in
second.
a very it's
Right.
sort of an anime type style,
Right.
but it's not anime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've all kind of gone around now and kind of discussed what started us in anime. Now that we're older,
Yeah.
what's the kind of things that, like, for you guys that keep you watching?
I've seen some things, man.
Yeah.
I believe
But
that.
I've
just
seen
keep
some
you
things.
watching anime. What out there right now has become a big thing that makes you just want to sit down and watch?
All right,
Well-
I'm gonna start that one.
Okay.
With my basic ass taste, honestly, for me, the thing that's got me into anime hugely isn't a particular show or anything like that. I would say over the last decade, I have become like a content fiend. So the fact that there is literally so much anime for me to watch, like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh, this is something I can just dedicate the next 20 to 25 years of my life becoming like
Yeah,
a huge ass anime
there's so much
expert.
anime that if you were a newborn and you spent your entire life doing nothing but watching anime,
You can't
couldn't.
watch all the anime.
Yeah,
you couldn't watch
yeah,
it all.
Yeah, you couldn't. And that for me is what makes me super interested and super into anime in the last, like, I would say 5 years.
It's just so weird to me that there is so much content. And truthfully, I mean, I know this is going to sound really, I'm an old man and this, I'm going to go grouchy, get off my lawn type guy. But they're just cartoons.
Yeah.
But there are so many of them. It's like, where?
And some of them have excessively weird or dark or deep storylines,
Right,
and
yeah,
some of them
yeah.
are bubbly and happy, and some of them are just ridiculous and dumb. And
But like you were saying, is that you could watch anime from the time you're born to the time you die and still not watch it all.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's not really like a genre, even though people
Exactly.
call it.
You could
I
pick- you
hate
could
when
pick-
people
you could
call
pick-
it a genre.
you could pick an anime subgenre and probably not watch it all
yeah,
by the time.
probably
Yeah.
not
Right.
watch it all.
So my real question is like, is there specific types that really get
Yeah, what's your genre? What's your preferred anime genre?
right?
I would probably say it's still like the shonen type stuff. Like,
No,
I mean, I'm super, super, super into
You-
My Hero Academia.
Okay,
and,
you
like,
you're watching
Naruto.
One Piece?
No, but that's on the list.
Okay. You said you did Bleach.
Yeah, I'm actually watching through Bleach right
You're a
now.
Naruto guy.
Yeah, I'm a big Naruto guy.
What else is on Shonen right now?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
See,
that's a big one.
I've heard from people not to watch it. I've heard from people. I mean, and like,
It's weird.
there's never like
Yeah, it's not normal.
and no matter what people say, like, hey, don't watch this or hey, watch this. Like, I'm gonna watch it anyway once I
Right.
once I get to it because I don't give a crap what anybody else's opinion of it
Well,
because
there's
I
plenty
want to
of-
watch it so I know what my opinion of it is.
there's
Right.
plenty of movies,
You know?
real like regular movies or TV shows that people are like, that's horrible, but it's totally in my wheelhouse, so I'm gonna watch it anyway.
So,
Right.
And I know. Okay.
So that's how I feel like.
I'm going to ask Harrison the same question, but I'm really interested in this answer because me and Harrison have thrown some anime at each other that are just radically different genres from one to the next.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what's your preferred genre?
That's a hard question because I mean,
It's all right. My answer is going to be super indecisive.
I've watched a lot. I like a lot. I mean, I can enjoy. I don't think I've really watched a whole lot of shonen besides Dragon Ball Z being my exception on that part.
Mhm.
I'm always super into that. In fact, that like yesterday, I was just like listening to like Dragon Ball Z theories and stuff like in the car whenever I'm driving. At work.
Right.
Yeah, see, this shit's cool.
Like-
I like just hopping on YouTube and
And the thing
listening
is,
to other people talk about
I
anime,
enjoy
too.
I enjoy some of those Dragon Ball Z theories, but I also break a lot of them down because I know a lot of them
Right.
like they theorize on how powerful certain people are.
Yeah.
When a lot of stuff is, and this is a really
It's
interesting thing.
subjective.
I broke some of this down. Like in Super, Goku and Krillin both show that they can get shot and get hurt. So,
Mm-hmm.
but you go all the way back to like Dragon Ball, and neither one of them are even paying attention, and they can get shot, and they just go,
Yeah,
ow,
there's
that hurt.
Yeah, Goku gets like shot in the forehead. And
Right.
Just, like, is whatever.
The very first time he meets someone
yeah.
and doesn't know what a gun is, and he gets shot in the head, and doesn't. Well, he's not prepared, but he gets shot in Super when he's not paying attention, and suddenly it's a big deal. So
It's got
I can.
kryptonite bullets.
Well, the thing is, it's easy to tell.
We
if
went
you-
right back to talking about
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z, guys.
bad.
But if you're paying attention to how Akira Toriyama tells stories, you can tell when he's doing something for fun, like as like an amusement or a joke,
to
versus when he's talking about their actual power.
Yeah.
So in Super, he's talking about their actual power. They can get shot. They can get hurt. They have to be active in protecting themselves in order to not get injured by certain things. Which is why Goku got blasted by Frieza's henchman with that stupid little tiny blaster
Yeah, little
and
laser
nearly
gun.
died because he has to be active in his protection.
Yeah, they even made sure they threw in the part where
what I was listening to last
you're dumbass.
night
I can't believe you let that happen.
was they were talking about how Frieza somehow caught up to current day Goku in Resurrection F.
Yeah.
After he was dead that long, he was like if you really look at it, like base Goku in the Cell Saga could probably wipe the floor with Frieza from the
end of the
Namek Saga.
Yeah.
He base Goku's stronger than Super Saiyan Goku was in that part. You know, it's just like, and then throughout time they're getting into like God stuff. How did Frieza make that jump?
I actually have a relatively easy theory for that, which is the power jumps in Dragon Ball Z are not as extreme as they try and make them out to be.
Yeah, exactly.
They talk about multiplying and doing all this stuff, but realistically, I think all they're trying to do in Dragon Ball Z's training is the exact same style of training that they do in Dragon Ball. All of Dragon Ball, every time they get better in Dragon Ball, all they really did was make themselves a little bit faster. Most of the fighting style in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is about being fast. Mm-hmm. That's what they focus on. But like, if you are faster, you can hit the other guy and therefore do a thing. So, since the entire thing is about speed, every time I've heard like the Superman versus Goku thing, Goku's fast. That's what he's focused on his entire life. That's what all of his training has always been about. It's how to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
Superman is Superman. Right. Which is why I never really liked that argument, because their power scales are different. They scale differently.
How can you compare it if they're completely different?
Yeah, I never liked that comparison because Goku is a god and stuff, but the majority of that ends up being he's fast. And if you look at a lot of the explanations on how ki blasts work, everyone thinks that they melt things, but they're bludgeoning force. Mm-hmm. They hit things. Yeah. It's like an extended punch.
Yeah.
So if you hit Superman with an extended punch, all you did was just punch him from a distance.
Right.
Anyways,
the Man of Steel.
Going back on that, I think I like some comedy anime, romance anime. Yeah, I probably watch a lot of romance anime, honestly. Stuff that ends really sadly.
Yeah.
Makes you cry.
My Lie in April?
Yeah, Your Lie in April's a good one. I love that one. I was actually just rewatching that.
And you recommended one to us last week, which was Zombieland Saga.
Oh,
Zombieland Saga, yeah.
So I watched all of Zombieland Saga. I watched it in a day. I loved that show. But I also made a recommendation last week, which I don't know if anyone watched it. I don't know if you watched it.
I wasn't able to.
No. It was Gaku Garashi, which in English is School Live. Mm-hmm. I love that show. That show was amazing.
Well, that show in the first episode is like, you think one thing is going on.
Yeah.
And at the very end, you come to realize that it's all a lie.
So if anyone wants to watch School Live, watch the entire first episode. Don't read any descriptions or spoilers. Just watch the entire first episode all the way to the end. And I defy you to not want to watch the second episode.
Right.
Yeah. If I could find an easy way to watch a lot of these, I probably
just
would.
make sure you watch it to the end, because we were all kind of sitting there like,
yeah. I kept having to convince them to keep watching.
Yeah.
It was weird. Like what I've been into recently is a show called Kagaguri, which is a show about kids gambling in school after hours.
Okay.
And they gamble like ridiculous amounts of money with each other.
Yeah.
And they have like a school ranking system where if you're below the top 100 people, you get this little tag on you and you get treated like crap. Like people just bully the crap out of you. It's really funny, but it's also like weirdly intense because the main chick, she like all of the kids that she fights are basically like cheating in some way.
Yeah.
And she like breaks it down and figures out how they're cheating, and
so
then still wins against them.
It's a gambling version of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because I think it's like more than half of the people that Yugi plays against in that show were cheating.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Kaiba was handing out the Egyptian god cards to his little minions in that second session. You know,
well, like there was that guy who had that one way of trimming his cards, which would never work in real life. That caused when people cut, the card he wanted would end up on top. That would never work in real life, but it was a way of cheating. And then
there's Pegasus with his literal eye that could
see through cards. There were so many cheaters in that show.
Every single one of them in this game like cheated in some way, and it was just like some of them were like really convoluted and stuff, like using magnets on cards to move things. Like it just
that seems pretty ridiculous.
But it's a pretty fun show.
Well, that's cool. Like I like having you guys discuss, while I'm here to listen about other genres, because the only reason why shonen is my favorite right now, and it may still always be my favorite even after I watch a bunch of other genres and stuff, but like it's my favorite by default because it's like the only stuff that I've been exposed to.
Well, some of these I really enjoy because they mix genres and they mix genres really well.
Like there's actually a show I watched called Chivalry of a Failed Knight. There's only one season of it, but I watched through it so quickly because it was like a mixture of like action and romance and comedy and drama, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like I didn't ever even think to watch other genres of anime because again, like all I knew was kid fights people and it's awesome, Instead, this was different, and I ate
so many. Zombieland Saga was a great example of mixing genres. I love the way they mix genres in that because it's horror comedy idol.
Oh, the moment that I knew I was like really in love with the show was that rap battle scene.
Oh god, that was so good.
And it was like weirdly good too. It was so funny.
It was such a good rap battle. It starts so absurdly too.
And like you guys only saw the first episode of it, you probably wouldn't expect that to be a thing later.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I don't ever have any. I don't set limits on what to expect when I watch anything, especially anime, because even from watching shows.
An anime I would recommend to people that are 18 or over is Sekirei, which I think might still be on Netflix.
I think I've heard that, yeah.
And the way I generally describe Sekirei is it's Pokemon, but instead of it being tiny little teddy bears, it's tits and violence.
Nice.
So and the reason why I say over 18 is because it does have nudity.
Marshall can't watch this episode.
It does have nudity, but the storyline was so good that when I finished the first season, I went and tried to find the second season, which wasn't dubbed yet. I found a copy of it, and I didn't realize that I had accidentally found a censored copy of the second season until like my third rewatch of the whole season.
Wow.
That's when I realized that I had a censored copy, and I didn't care because it was just that good.
That's good. Another like sad anime. I guess we probably don't really need a recommendation thing at the end because this is kind of just
this whole podcast at this moment is recommendations.
There's so many.
Of obscure.
I don't know. You probably have seen Mirai Nikki or Future Diary. It's a pretty popular one. If you haven't, I'm surprised.
I haven't. No.
It's weird, but it is a pretty popular anime. It's got the infamous Yuno Gasai, the yandere chick, which is stalker girlfriend, basically.
Okay.
And it's like the Hunger Games, kinda, but like, yeah, it's like the Hunger Games, but an anime, and the chick is crazy.
What's it called?
Future Diary.
Future Diary.
Because when you asked me if I'd seen it and you said the name Future Diary, it reminds me of literally two other anime.
Yeah.
Right. So one of them is called DNA Squared, which I think I described DNA Squared last night to some people.
Yeah.
It's follows the world's biggest loser, right? He's just some loser high school kid, and chick comes out of nowhere from the future, and is all like, "You ruined the world," and he's like, "I do not recall doing as such," and she's like, "In the future," and he's like, "Well, that's not fair," and so apparently in the future he becomes the world's biggest playboy, and he is referred to as the Mega Playboy. And he has 100 children, all of which end up being mega playboys and also having 100 children apiece, and just causes a giant overpopulation problem in the future.
I'm guessing he gets with that future chick?
No. So what happens is she got sent back in time to rewrite his DNA so he never becomes the mega playboy. Except they end up in a weird circular thing where the reason she gets sent back in time is to rewrite his DNA, and then her coming back to rewrite his DNA is how he becomes the mega playboy.
Oh.
So they're trying to figure out how to fix that. That's the entire premise of the show. Is he's trying not to transform into the mega playboy.
They time looped his ass.
But there's another anime that I ran into. I literally finished Zombieland Saga and was just cruising around on my streaming site. Trying to get, I was going to go into SAO next, Sword Art Online, just to get because I hadn't seen the show really, and I know it's popular, so I wanted to get an idea of why. But I ran into this thing, it was on the front page of this site that I was on, and it was a recommendation. I was like, it's only 4 episodes long, I'll go ahead and click on it. It's called Bludgeoning Angel Dokuru-chan. Okay? And the description, it reminded me of DNA Squared. Person from the future comes back in time to stop the person who does the thing that makes the world terrible. And the person that comes back in time is Dokuru-chan, who is an angel, an actual angel. And she's trying to stop a guy who stopped all women aging at the age of 12. Which ended up making them all immortal, but they're all 12 years old. Which is a ridiculous premise.
That's kind of funny.
And the show just becomes more ridiculous from there. I'm not sure if I recommend this show at all or not. If you want something that is at all serious or makes any kind of sense or even has a moment to catch its breath, don't watch this show. Because when I say it's 4 episodes long, these 4 episodes get a lot of random crap done. The whole show is basically in fast forward.
There's a lot of really weird anime. I remember one I saw was Midori Days, which is about this high school guy that wakes up one morning and there is a girl on his hand. And by on his hand, I mean that his hand is gone and is replaced with an entire woman.
Oh, a girl is his hand.
Yeah, a girl is his
like
hand.
A full-sized woman?
No, not a full-sized woman.
Or like the size
of his hand.
All right.
So that kind of reminds me of like a comedy version of like Vampire Hunter D. Because D from Vampire Hunter D has a mouth in his hand that can eat and talk and do all kinds of random crap.
So like how is it attached? I need to know this. Is it like the head is where the wrist is, or like
full body?
Full body.
Is she attached like by her feet?
She doesn't have legs.
Okay,
so it's just
upper
the
body.
head and
upper
the body.
She's like the world's weirdest centaur.
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
She does eat. She talks, and then I think they end up like falling in love with each other, and it's pretty funny.
I'm sorry. Is this show just?
Well,
is it a giant euphemism for masturbation? Is that?
They do make a few jokes about that, but somehow she's like under some spell or something.
So I want to preface to anybody that's listening to this episode that is just not into anime at all. You have to have just a massively open mind.
Yeah. That is true.
Honestly,
I see James.
Honestly, if you want to get into anime, it's just figure out what kind of thing you like watching. There's an anime that does it.
Yeah, most definitely. You know.
And then eventually, maybe one day you'll end up going down the rabbit hole and seeing just the most ridiculous things you can ever imagine.
And you won't mind as much because now you've actually seen what anime.
And the thing is, if you put all the anime that I've watched like in line, you can see how I get from one thing to the next to the next. So like going from Cowboy Bebop to Bludgeoning Angel Dokuru-chan, it's a straight line. it doesn't look straight when you're looking at the two ends.
Yeah, you're just like, you went all over the place, but no, I didn't.
But no, it's a straight line.
It just took me a while to
I
get
don't know,
here.
mine kind of goes random places at times. Like, sometimes you can see, like, maybe I'm, like, sad. Maybe I'm horny. I don't know. It's just, like, whatever. But, two anime that really probably show my genre that I like, I guess. Probably Plastic Memories. If you guys... If you're
I've
not
heard
know
of
what
it. I don't
is.
know that much about it.
It's about this world where these robots, or I guess androids, are kind of handed out to people as like helpers in life. And
So it's iRobot.
Yeah, sounds like
I
it.
don't know, but there's
He's
like
too old, or he's too young for
yeah,
that. Yeah.
For iRobot?
Well,
but
what, that
they-
came out in like 2002, 2003?
I was talking about the short story.
Oh, okay.
they don't have like feelings per se or whatever. They're still they look exactly like people. They
Okay.
function as people, but they like turn off at the end of the night and whatever.
Okay.
So it's
And-
Bicentennial Man.
But then the dude that gets this chick falls for her even though she has like no feelings. And she's like whatever.
So does he
but-
try and figure out how to like give her
Give her
You
feelings?
see, the problem is that they become attached to each other because at some point she does like value him as a friend and stuff, and then I think they do fall for each other.
So
but-
she learns feelings.
Yeah, but then like
Alright.
the thing is
Yes.
that these I think they're called giftas. They expire, and then they just die,
Right.
and
Okay.
they know the date of it.
Oh, they just know when it's all over for him, huh?
Yeah, they like start glitching out and stuff, and they like try to kill people. And it's
Oh,
So what is this,
alright.
Blade Runner now? Jesus.
it's pretty good
This
though.
totally-
It definitely sounds like
loved it.
iRobot to me.
I loved it.
See, that
the-
sounds like
the Will
something
Smith
just
iRobot.
about anybody can kind of get into, though, because it's got good elements to it that could appeal to a lot of different people.
I did want to, because I watched a lot of anime this week in preparation for this. Like I said, I watched all of Zombieland Saga in a day. I watched Bludgeoning Angel the next day. I finished all that, and then from there on, I started watching Sword Art Online, and I'm in the second series of Sword Art Online. I wanted to discuss Sword Art Online, and I wanted to try and get everyone's opinions as to why they think it's popular.
Before we do that,
I have
the
not
other
seen
anime
it,
I was
so-
gonna say was Anohana, is another anime that I really loved.
Okay.
It's really sad.
Okay.
Really gets the waterworks going. It's
So if you have a girlfriend and you want snuggle times,
Is it like a
suppose.
romance ad? Or is it
Yeah,
like a,
or is it like
not
everyone has
really.
cancer sad?
yeah,
it's,
is it like a 13 ways to
So-
die sad, or is it
here,
like
I'll explain.
Okay.
So it's about this group of kids that grew up. They were like a friend group that played outside together all the time. And when they were little kids, one of the girls died,
I'm
like
already
in the
sad.
woods or something.
Yeah,
And then years later,
they just bridged Terabithia that bitch.
Yeah.
Years later,
Holy
whenever
cow.
they're all like teenagers, the main guy from that group, he's like sitting there playing a game, and then out of nowhere, an aged up version of that girl, like, comes up to him and starts messing with him. He's just like full on ignoring it, but he still hears her. He just thinks that he's like
He thinks he's crazy.
hallucinating, yeah. And he's like being haunted by her basically the entire show.
Okay, see,
And
I
then
would dig that.
It makes all of the friends reconnect with each other, but then they also fight each other in a way because they all drifted apart after the girl died.
Yeah.
But then they all met up again, and some stupid drama stuff happens. But they also like get told that he can see her,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them believe him, and the others are like, "That's complete bullshit. You're just messing with us, and it's fucked up, dude."
Okay.
And
I'm kind of interested by this. You need to
But
send me
then-
this one.
I'm
Yeah.
super interested by that.
I won't spoil the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and send me that one.
All right, it's good.
But yeah, so I wanted to talk about Sword Art because I know it's popular. And there are other things that we could talk about that are popular right now too, like Attack on Titan and stuff. But since Sword Art is fresh in my brain, I wanted to go ahead and give it a talk.
Alright.
So I watched the entire first season of Sword Art Online, and what I've basically discovered is it's kind of done a shonen-y type style, right?
Kinda.
But the storytelling method is sort of avant-garde. Like, it's very jump forward and then give you flashbacks of things that led to this, and then jump forward again.
Yep.
In my opinion, the overall story is good. The storytelling method is a little sloppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's done in a lot of different things, and it doesn't always work.
Right, and the thing is, I feel like the show could have been better if it was just a straightforward telling of the story, where you just go from, in chronological order from here to here to here to here to here. I think that could have worked better, but it would have taken longer, and I wish it would have taken longer. I wish it would have been, the first game is one whole season, the second game is one whole season.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of SAO 2 right now, where he's in Gungale.
I haven't even watched that.
And he just finished what he was doing in Gungale halfway through the season. So that means there's going to be another whole storyline that's going to happen. I'm not huge on that. In Gungale, it was a little bit better because it's told straightforward and it's just a short storyline.
Yeah.
But the first half of the first season was kind of all over the place, and I didn't really appreciate it.
And I think that Kirito has a problem with being a little too OP.
Yeah, there are episodes where he's so incredibly overpowered, but I think that works with the storyline for those episodes. And then there are other episodes where they don't explain how the hell he fell behind so fast and ends up being basically normal foot soldier this episode. He bounces back and forth a lot.
Well, I don't think. I mean, the little bit that I have watched. Yeah, I talk. Wait a minute. Yes, I'm still here. Yes, I'm still in the
James
room.
is still in the room.
And he didn't bring me a beer. Go ahead.
So, the little bit that I have seen of it, I don't think that he's ever been underpowered. And then the parts where he's just acting as a soldier, he's just there because he wants to finish. Because I've only watched the first half.
He wants to blend in.
Yeah. He wants to just be helpful. But he knows that he doesn't want to come out and say that I'm the most OP person in this whole game. Screw you guys, I'm going to do it by myself. Hey, this whole group wants to try to finish this one dungeon to get to the next floor. Instead of him like, oh, I'm like 40 levels above you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pretend to be just a soldier and back you guys up to make sure that you guys do get that push you need to finish.
Honestly, I think once they stopped doing all the flashbacks and they got into, especially like the storyline where him and Asuna buy their house by the lake.
Yeah.
That was some of the best character development
That was
stuff.
nice.
And if they had stuck with that, because a lot of the characters that are in the intro to the show are like in one episode apiece.
Yep.
So like the Dragon Tamer girl or
Klein doesn't come back for a few episodes.
yeah, he's gone for a while, and the blacksmith girl is in that one episode, and then she's kind of in the background on occasion where she like has a line.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like the show doesn't spend any time doing a whole lot of character development with any of these people. It's basically, here's this person, and then we move on.
Besides Kirito and Asuna.
Right. And I think the show could have really benefited from taking a little bit longer, getting more episodes with more character development on these people, and getting you more closely connected to these people, and just making it one whole season by itself.
There's some things I want to say about it, but like I don't want to have James hear it.
Well, the one thing that actually irked me about when they go into the second game in Alfheim Online is he's alone again. So we know for a fact that that tall guy, that shopkeeper guy that he hangs out with, we know he plays Alfheim, but you don't see him in the game ever.
Yeah.
So like, why didn't he get his old crew together to come help him with this task? Why is he trying to do it by himself?
But then
That's just
sister
his
that
character.
loves him
It's like a character flaw that he
comes to help
has.
him.
Okay, and that's something you screwed me up on, right? So because she's not sister, she's cousin, and that's
Oh, is it
still
cousin?
weird.
Is it? Oh, I didn't know. I forgot. It's
Because
been-
they're
They're
not-
cousins,
yeah.
but brought up.
Yeah,
like,
they were brought up
brothers.
as siblings, but he's actually her cousin.
It's still not
and
right.
she's still in love with him. But the thing is, she tries to make the excuse of, we're not siblings, so this is okay. And then they just ignore the part where they're cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one bothers saying, but we're still related, so maybe, go find a nice boy
That's-
your own age.
Despite the fact that she knows that he is trying to get to Asuna.
Yeah.
There's
The
a lot
whole
of that.
time.
Though. There's a lot of that in a bunch of different animes that I've seen, and like
And
it's
here's-
always
here's-
hard for me to get past some of that shit.
I've said this on many occasions, not quite in this style, but I've said this a lot. Asian people are just rednecks with calculus credits. Alright? That's
Rednecks with calculus credits.
that's
We just lost an entire demographic, two entire demographics while you said that.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
it's okay.
Half of our 12 viewers.
It's okay.
Hey man, if they
'cause
stayed this long,
that entire demographic is white
Mission
people who get
accomplished,
offended.
right?
Because I'm Korean. I can call Asian people whatever I want.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's weird because I've met so many random Asian people being Asian and being in that community.
Being Asian.
Being Asian and being in that you believe me, you get to meet a lot of random Asian people. And
Because you're Asian.
I've met more Asian people that drive pickup trucks with gun racks in the back
You're
than
not-
white people
you're
with
not
pickup
wrong.
trucks and gun
You
racks
are
in the
not
back.
wrong.
see, I don't know whether or not I've seen the
How did we-
idea of some form of incest more in anime or pornography. That's an issue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
here's the
yeah.
thing. Here's the one thing about the Asian culture and the Asian thing that I've noticed growing up. Everybody that was friends with my mother, because my mother is Thai, anybody that was friends with my mother were always aunts and uncles.
Yes.
So it's like, who really is my
My
family?
aunt and uncle.
my-
yeah.
Like,
My-
are
my
they?
mom-
Is she really my cousin? Can I date her or can I not date her because
Right.
she's
My
Yeah.
mom
supposedly my
always,
cousin.
always introduced her friends as aunts.
auntie,
Yeah,
auntie,
yeah.
or yeah. That's the way it always was for me growing up. It was always auntie this or
There's
auntie
some.
that.
I mean, just watching in animes, some of them that I've seen, I've been able to get over them fairly easily.
Yeah.
And other ones are just like totally crossing the line, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched Black Clover, but like I kind of stopped watching that show completely because there is a character that is like obsessed with his like 4-year-old little sister. Like just super
that's-
creepy.
Yeah, that's weird.
He's like 20, 25, probably somewhere in that
I-
age, and
I heard-
I can't be down with this
There
show at
was,
all
I heard
because
something
that's
about
up to me.
this. I think Australia is trying to ban anime right now because of Uromanga Sensei, which is about a 13-year-old girl, or maybe she's 15, something like that. She's young, that draws porn and her brother sells it.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
they make a bunch of really weird, provocative scenes.
Here's the thing. I can see where that might be crossing a weird line because Australia already did ban several genres of anime. They did
Yeah.
this years ago.
Yeah.
Anything that is even slightly sexual for anyone that has characters that are underage, which ends up being a lot of anime.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of anime is about high school students,
Yeah.
or middle school students even.
Yep.
little schoolgirls.
Right, little
Yeah.
schoolgirls, because Japanese people love schoolgirls.
9 out of 10 animes involve a school in some degree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
And honestly, some of the ones that I find to be less weird are ones where, at the very least, your characters are, practicing for college entrance exams. So they're at least in the later years
you
of
can
high
deal
school.
with the perviness of
Right.
that a little
it's
bit better.
It's easier to deal with the perversion when you know they're at least like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
But when you get down to like some of the anime that are about middle school students,
Yeah.
that gets a little weird.
It gets super weird.
But then
I
I've
mean,
seen.
That just makes me wonder. I guess that kind of stuff just doesn't bother the Japanese.
No, because they okay. You don't have to go back that many years in Western culture before it was people get married at 14, 15, 16 years old.
True.
But we move past that and just sort of go, we're gonna forget all that stuff because that's the way our culture wants to be.
There's still some states in the United States that the age of consent is like 13.
Yeah. But in Asia, their movement of going past that is a lot more recent. So they can stick back there in that sort of realm and it not be as weird. It's getting weird, even for them.
Yeah.
So they're starting to move past it a bit more, but it's just sort of a thing that was okay for a long time.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
It's a difference in culture.
we put ourselves down a rabbit hole over here that
we've still
just
got
kind of put
an
us
hour.
into a weird spot. I don't even know where to go from here.
What's our time?
We're at about an hour 55.
Speaking of middle schoolers,
We're in an hour. What?
we're in an hour.
We're at like
So-
55 minutes.
I think we're gonna go ahead. I mean, do we still feel like we have a lot more to talk about here?
I can keep bringing up different animes. And just
Yeah,
talk
there's
about
all sorts of anime we could.
So why don't we go ahead and cut this episode here? Obviously, like Harrison said earlier, like this whole episode seems to be a recommendation of good anime that you guys have watched and say go ahead and watch.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and cut this episode here. It's a good, nice long length. We're gonna go ahead and probably continue on with the second episode and get a second one going.
Yep.
So we'll talk at you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.